Just checking out, reviewing the photos I took today. Because like before I transition to veganism, I have to eat plastic first. I like those because all the macros, they're non-dual.
Yo, today before I met you, you were with Vivian, right?
Yeah, the last time I saw her, it was like 7 years ago.
Oh, 7 years ago.
No, just kidding, 4.
So that's crazy. I mean, like, I had a big history.
One swap without uniform because I'm not pretentious.
How was it?
Pretty good. I took photos for her too.
Yeah? Oh, yo, man. She looks crazy. She's pretty hot, man. Yo, are those titties natty?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. All right, welcome everybody to Conversation with the Conjuror. Today we have a very special guest. He is known as a YouTube celebrity, bodybuilder, violinist, infinite bra, enigma, pussy slayer, Frank Young, aka the human acid trip. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you for having me, man.
What's going
What's up,
on?
Alex?
Yeah, what's going on, brother?
Pretty good, man. Do you like my new shirt?
Oh, dude, it's awesome.
It's awesome, right?
Yeah, it's very, very pink. I was actually considering wearing a pink shirt, but
Oh shit, really?
yeah, but instead I went with that.
Oh. Wait, what was I gonna do? Yeah, I was trying to find a wire that I want to record it with my mic, but
Okay.
I can't find a wire.
Well, I mean, the audio is pretty good now that you're connected.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, it's not too
Okay.
bad.
Okay, let's just do it.
The video is just a little bit choppy and everything, but you know, it's pretty good.
Pretty good, right? Let's find a good angle for this. Gotta make sure lighting is good.
Yeah, man.
Lighting. I'm gonna record it with my GoPro too,
Okay, nice.
so I can get a nice video here, and then with the audio. This is pretty good audio too, actually. So we should be good.
Yeah. Is my mic coming in pretty good?
Yeah, pretty good. You're really good.
All right, I had some
So
issues last episode.
You're recording this. Right? You're recording through Zoom, right?
Yeah, I'm recording right now.
Okay, cool. So we're starting.
Yep, we are
Nice.
starting. Just
That's stupid. Oh, that's it. Let me move this. Come back. All right. Sweet. How you doing, man?
doing very good, man. Welcome to the show. You are officially
What is the show called again?
The show is called Conversation with the Conjuror. However, this episode is just going to be me and you because of the time difference. Dan, he wasn't able to make it because he's in the UK and we weren't able to schedule it. So we're going to call this episode Conversation Without a Conjuror.
Dude, we can do another one next time with him in it.
Yeah, I mean, if we can schedule it and everything, it's been challenging scheduling, between 3 different time zones, you being in Taiwan,
Exactly.
me East Coast, and him in the UK.
Yeah, but at least we got you.
Yeah. I mean, me and you, that's good enough for, to get it started.
I think so. I think we can cover a lot of grounds just by just me and you. Where are you located?
I'm in Tennessee.
Oh, cool, man. I've never been there.
Yeah. I'm pretty much out in the sticks, out in the middle of nowhere for the most part.
One of my favorite genres to watch for movies is just like sort of like small town American like dramas, like ordinary lives, like like kind of like art films, but like I don't like too artsy. Like I used to be really into art films, but nowadays it's kind of like just like movies are like about like really mundane things, like just like ordinary people's like
kind of like King of the Hill. You ever watch that one? The cartoon?
That's a cartoon, right?
Yeah.
I've never seen that one. I've never seen that one.
It's kind of like King of the Hill here in the area that I'm from. Everybody just hanging out, drinking beer.
Exactly. I like that kind of like vibe, Like even though I've never like lived it myself personally, but for some reason that vibe just really like resonate with me for some reason.
I guess you spent most of your time in Taiwan growing up, right?
growing up, yeah, in Taiwan, but I moved to the States after elementary school. So
Okay.
I got my degree, college degree in America. I got yeah, just college degree in high school America and middle school. Yeah. So
Okay.
I always say I spent about half of my life. Oh shit, there's like fireworks going on.
Oh, is that what that is?
That's fireworks. It should
Uh,
be over in a few seconds.
it sounds like somebody at the keyboard typing.
Oh, it's God. God is like,
Yeah, yeah, shooting down lightning bolts. So it was kind of very, kind of ironic the way that I even met you, the first time and even heard about you. So
that
do you
happened.
do you remember at all? Do you ever remember meeting me? Because it was, about 4 or 5 years ago, I think it was.
In person?
Yeah, we met in person in like Taipei. We were down there near ATT for Fun in that area.
What?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you
Yeah. Yeah.
Taiwan. Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I think you mentioned that you're in Taiwan. That's why
Yeah.
I kept thinking you're Asian.
Nope, I'm definitely
I'm
not
thinking
Asian.
you're Asian.
Yeah.
Did I bum a cigarette from you?
I don't remember that part, but my buddy Luke Molders had just told me about you, and he was showing me some of your videos. This is like back in 2015. So he was showing me videos of you, and then me and him went out, to go to some clubs and stuff. And then we walk out of this club, and like you were coming this way, and we were walking this way, and he was like, "Holy shit, it's Frank Young!" And then you had some girl with you then, and the only thing, we were both pretty drunk. But the only thing that I remember you saying is you asked Luke, you said, "Do you go to dark places a lot?"
What? No way. Really?
Yeah.
That's
And I was too far drunk to even know who you were or anything. I was like, "What's up, man?" But that's pretty much it.
I don't think I remember, bro.
Yeah. I mean, that's been several years, and it was just for a fleeting moment, like probably no more than 2 minutes. He stayed there. He talked to you a little bit about other stuff, but yeah, I was probably checking out your girlfriend.
how how long have you been in Taiwan? Were you in Taiwan for? Like,
Yeah.
what were you doing in Taiwan?
First time I was in Taiwan, I was living in Sanchong. I lived there for about right at a year. I was teaching English for Hess. And then the second time I went back and I was living also in Taipei, but I was teaching English for Hess also at a separate time. So I did that for about 2 years.
Oh wow! So
Yep.
what made you choose Taiwan?
Well, I mean, I was originally going to go to China, but the girl that I was, talking to on the internet, I was in this part of this group called Let's Speak Chinese. To answer your question previously, why do I speak Chinese? But so I was talking to her and I was telling her I'm getting ready to go to China, and she was like, "Well, don't go to China, come to Taiwan." And I was like, "What's Taiwan?" Didn't know nothing about it. And she said, "Well, it's it's a democratic country and so much better than China, blah blah blah." And then she's like, "Plus, I'm here." And I was like, "Oh shit, I don't know anybody in China, but I at least know her." So there I went.
Really?
Yeah.
So did you end up dating a girl or?
Yeah, I dated her for a couple of years.
Oh shit! Really? Okay. So after you got to Taiwan, like she was your girlfriend for a couple of years,
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So that worked out.
Not anymore, but it worked out then.
It worked out for those 2 years that you were in Taiwan.
Yeah.
You had to, like,
Yeah.
and show you around stuff.
I mean,
That's
yeah.
amazing, bro.
Yeah, dude. It was.
Yeah, I want to just go to I want to go to Europe actually. That's one of the only places where I haven't really explored. That'd be cool to just meet a chick on Tinder or something, and and it's like in like Europe or like in France or something like that, or like, and I just go there.
As much as you've traveled, you haven't did that yet.
I've been to Italy. I've been to Rome. I've been to Paris. I've been to Australia, and those are the only European countries that I've been to. I took a solo trip to Paris and Rome, 2015 too. So that was like right around the area where I met you, right about the time frame where I met you. But I've never really actually done that. I've just every time I travel, it's either with a girlfriend or with family, or just went by myself and just wanted to explore the area by myself. I've never really like met a girl and be like, hey, actually I have, but it's not like, it wasn't like a long-term thing. Like I met girls on the internet, like on Instagram and YouTube, and they were in like a different country, and then I would go there and hang out with them. But it wasn't like you. It was like, oh, I'm gonna settle down in this area, in this country for like a long period of time. Like meeting a girl there, like almost like a new chapter, a new life. For me, it wasn't long enough to like.
That's what's
chapter.
so challenging about it is being able to get set up and stay. For me to stay in Taiwan, I had to have the ARC, which is like the green card, but for Taiwan. And so if I didn't have a job and if I wasn't working, then I couldn't stay there. I had to stay, leave every 90 days or whatever. So to do anything long term, in other countries, it's a little bit more tricky unless you're able to somehow, get that work card.
Oh, so you got the work card?
Yep, I had the work card. I had, all that. I was able to stay as long as I had that job. But
how do you find Taiwan compared to the States? Like,
I mean, I love Taiwan. Like, Taiwan's second home to me. Like completely different. The main thing that I missed about home was I really missed grass. Just being able.
Yeah, you can still get grass here, but it's way harder to find and it's legal.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, like where I live right now, it's like farmland. Nothing but dense forest. Way out in the middle of nowhere. So it's like in Taiwan, whenever I was in Sanchong, everything was stacked up on top of each other. It's just so many people and, not really a lot of privacy as far if I want to go outside and, take a piss off the porch, I can do that here,
So did you used to go clubbing a lot? Because I there was a phase where I used to go clubbing like 3 to 5 times a week in Taiwan and just do like pickups for like 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Not really a whole
lot. You had a
lot.
girlfriend.
Yeah, I had a girlfriend, but I'd still go out and stuff. But not so much in the clubbing. But see, the first time when I was there, I was, going to, Taipei. I guess what's the area called for ATT for fun? What's that area called?
Oh, Xinyi.
Yeah, so I was going there a lot. But then my second time when I went back, I was going to the local, smaller Taiwanese local bars, and that's so much better.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I've never actually for those. Can you give me a name of? Give me a couple of names that I can like sort of go to myself.
Well, I don't even know the names of the places. It always just said beer outside, just beer.
So just like smaller,
Yeah.
like independent.
Yeah, there was.
Bar.
Whenever I had
Like
my last apartment. Yeah, my last apartment had a bar just on the other side of the street, and I didn't have to pay to go to very far, so I just would walk there after work and whatever. But I don't know the name of the place. But actually, one of the places I used to go to a lot was Revolver. Did you ever go there?
I've been there. Yeah, it's not my place, but I like going to like the EDM like clubs where they play EDM music, even though I don't listen to any music.
Yeah.
But like I like big clubs with like a lot of like I like the girls to be more quote unquote like normies. Because a lot of those like bars they have like really hipster girls, but I'm already fucking weird enough. Like personally, when I look for girls, I like to look for like girls that look like they're like club chicks.
Yeah.
Like people think I'm weird for doing that. I'm so weird to think like I'm gonna find some artsy fartsy girl like hipster girls, but I'm actually not really. I mean, like I don't discriminate. I like all types, but like just like naturally the way that the girls that I dated in the past, they're all like kind of fucked up in the head a little bit, but they seem like they're like normal, quote unquote normal.
I mean, if there is such a thing. See, like trying to understand the Taiwanese women, with me being a foreigner, like I would just if I'd go out to these nightclubs and everything, they all just look the same, like I wasn't able to tell the different personality types, compared, to like when if I look at people from here, just because I don't have like that in-depth understanding, of the culture,
But also because I think the girls in Taiwan are just people in general in Taiwan are more homogenous. They're more collective in a sense. Their mindsets are more like sort of they don't have as much independent thoughts. Not to say they're stupid. I think Taiwanese people have the third highest IQ in the world or something like that. Like if you believe in IQ or that statistics, but like Taiwanese people are more like their thoughts aren't as much about themselves, the independent expressions as people from the States. Mm-hmm. And there's pros and cons to that. Like for example, like coronavirus. Like. It's way harder to contain coronavirus in the States exactly because of that reason, because each person has their own like independent opinions about like how to handle it and how to deal with it and what the virus even is, even if it's real or not. But Taiwanese people are just like, okay, listen, virus, and then let's all put on masks and let's just listen to what.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you freeze?
I think you're good, man. You can say whatever you want. Wait, so the stuff that we did before, was that still in it, or?
No, it's saved. All that it's saved. So I guess I'll just piece that in. I'll make this intro in the front, and then I'll piece that in. I guess we'll figure it out.
You can stick this intro in the middle.
Yeah. Usually, what we do is we'll talk for a little bit, get warmed up, and then actually jump right into it. After everybody's kind of loosened up, kind of have a little bit better feeling, of each other and everything. So I have a few questions written down here.
Yeah.
And they don't have
warm up.
Yeah, get warmed up here. These don't have to go in any certain order, but they're just some things I had, written down. So, what is your definition of a meat suit?
Oh, good question. A meatsuit is the body. Is this? And when people say meatsuit, they usually means the body, and then they separate the brain from it in a way, or the mind. For me, the meatsuit, the brain, the mind is included in the meatsuit.
Okay, so the physical body is the meat suit, including the brain. So there's a spiritual.
And the mind.
So is the mind a part of the meat suit, or does that exist in a separate dimension?
For me, the mind is part of the meatsuit. But if you ask another person, if you just ask any person on the street, they might put the mind as not being part of the meat suit. But for me, the way I experience the world, the mind is part of the meat suit.
I wonder, depending on how people believe in life and death, reincarnation, rebirth, heaven or hell or whatever, what part of it, if the mind exists in the physical body, and in order to have a mind, you have to have a brain. So, but there is an essence of life and energy that, exists and always will exist and will be reincarnated, whether it's turned into, fertilizer for the ground or whatever. So what part of you exists that is separate from the mind? Do you get what I'm saying? Or is that too abstract? I need to clarify that.
I think I get what you're saying. The only thing that I can tell you is what I experience right now. And what I experience right now is that there is this sort of timeless, boundless, vast, spacious, quote unquote, like substance that is empty, that stays the same no matter how much changes and modification that goes into the body, the mind, and the world. And whether that is separate from the body, the mind, and the world, or the same as the body, mind, the world, at the quote unquote physical level or biological level, I have no idea. But the way I experience it is like the mind, the body, awareness, sensations, the world, they're all just one thing.
What do you think the definition of spirit would be?
For me, the definition of spirit is it's everything. For me, there's no distinction in my direct experience right now between God and human, matter and mind, the spiritual and the material.
All right. To mix it up a little bit here, boobs, butt, or shoulder? Which do you prefer?
Wow, you mean on a girl?
Yeah, boobs, butt, or shoulder.
Oh, butt, definitely a butt.
You're a butt.
I didn't
man.
even care about the faces.
Yeah, it's all about that booty, huh?
No, I care about the face a little bit, but butt is like 85%.
Yeah. Okay. So you hear that, everybody? Frank Young's a butt man. If you didn't know that from watching his video, there's several videos of you biting booty.
I think almost every video has some kind of butt in there.
What
like my logo.
What was it? Yeah, that's your. It should be your logo. What was it that got you into making YouTube videos to begin with?
I started making videos way before YouTube, actually. I started playing around with the camera, just filming things and editing things when I was about 18 or 19. And YouTube didn't come out until I was like 22, 23. And by that time, I already had like an archive of videos. And I also went to like art school and like film school. So I had a lot of like art projects and stuff like that on top of those videos. So I already had a whole archive of like fitness videos and a combination of fitness videos and art videos and performance art and just me documenting my life almost, and me doing like really like abstract, almost like stupid things. Like in high school, I used to like film like Jackass like videos before there was even Jackass. Actually, it was like a weird thing because like, you know how like they say like different people from different parts of the world will get the same idea kind of, because like they're kind of receiving signals from like the other dimension or like, from God or whatever you want to call it. And then like different
the collective conscious, I think they call that.
Yeah, the collective conscious. But then again, the collective conscious is the same as the individual consciousness. Remember we talked about non-duality? It's all the same.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll go down. We'll talk about this at the relative human level for now. But we should go back to your original question later on. We should like go back in the circle. But let's talk about the video. So so I already had a whole collection of videos that I could potentially already start a channel. So Jackass. Back to Jackass for a little bit. So I was making like Jackass like videos before there was even Jackass. I was like, I'll bring my like really like one of those like big like VHS cameras to school, even though like it's allowed at school. And then I'll bring it to school and I'll film myself like jumping into trash cans and like wearing like a mask, like a shark mask. That was my favorite mask because my favorite animal was a shark. So I'll put on this huge shark mask and I'll like climb on top of the bleacher, like on the basketball court. Is that what it's called? A bleacher? My English is kind of rusty right now.
Bleachers.
I'm not
bleachers. Yeah, there's
a bleacher. Yeah,
bleachers.
So I'll climb on top of a bleacher. Yeah, during a basketball game, and I'll like wear my shark mask, and I'll just like jump down, onto like onto people when they're like, they're watching basketball games. Just shit like that.
Did any of that?
I'll throw like trash against the wall. Yeah, I have some old footage. There's a lot of footage, and I have some old footage of it at home and on VHS tape still. And I edit a little bits of it here and there and put in my YouTube videos. And I'll like throw trash cans against my wall in my backyard, and I try to capture it with my head. Just stuff like that. I call them stunts. I used to call myself Stumming George. I had an identity called Stumming George. Yeah, so like I'll film like that kind of stuff in high school, and then Jackass came out. I was like, "What the fuck? They're doing the same thing as me." Like,
they stole my idea.
Funny, but what?
I said they stole.
I don't know.
Idea,
they didn't steal my idea.
Yeah, it's like I was the original Jackass.
We were just. Yeah, I was thinking that in high school. I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, so by the time YouTube came out in like 2006. I was like, okay, this is interesting. I could upload the videos I already have onto the internet. So like, at first it was just kind of like I use it as kind of like an iCloud storage. I was like, oh, here's a place, in the cyberspace where I could store my videos, and I could like send it to a few friends just for a link. That was really interesting because before I used to like put all my videos on a VHS tape, and then I'll like give it out to people in school. Like, hey, watch my video. Watch my video.
That was how things went viral before the internet, huh? People make copies of VHS tapes.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember I used to like this girl. She plays basketball. She's like Asian, like she's kind of really tall and kind of cute. And then we were like kind of talking a little bit. I was a virgin until I was 21, by the way. So I didn't have sex. I didn't know how to talk to girls.
Shit.
I prom in high school. Yeah, that's why I like. That's why I try to fuck so many girls. Yeah, that's why I try to fuck so many girls.
Yeah, making up for lost time.
I think I did that for too long, man. I try to make up for lost time, like it was like overdue. Like
so getting to the question of being a virgin until 21, like how did that happen? Were you just so involved in school, or well, you were fun and silly,
Yeah, that's the thing. I think I was a little too weird for girls. So I just didn't know how to talk to girls. That seed just wasn't planting in my mind. Like I was like horny all the time. I've always been sexual all my life. I started masturbating when I was like 5 years old. And then I remember in high school, I would like masturbate like to like Britney Spears and just like really, and then I'll like film cheerleaders actually, and then I'll go home and watch like VHS tape, masturbated cheerleaders.
See, that's
I used to like all American blonde girls.
So that's one thing about, like, Taiwanese culture and Chinese culture. It's like, whenever I was a kid, if you wanted to get laid, you just sneak off somewhere where there's nobody at. But with Taiwan being so populated, where do you go to have privacy, Just get creative about it.
Oh, that's why there's like motels.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they rent motels. If you're a young, kid, you can't just go rent a hotel, can you?
Oh, you can. Oh, yeah. Well, that's the thing, though. I don't think. Yeah, Taiwanese people, they probably lost their virginity a little later than Americans on average.
Yeah.
So by the time you lost your virginity, you could probably rent a hotel.
Yeah. So, well, hell, the parents are out of the house. Mom, dad, they're working. Let's get it on.
Yeah.
So,
what was that?
did you ever have girlfriends though, like, or you just completely, didn't really hang out and talk to women at all?
I had my first girlfriend when I was 18, but I didn't have sex with her. And my second girlfriend when I was 19, I didn't have sex with her. Each relationship only lasted for like a month. When I was 21, I dated a girl in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I was already in college, but she was in high school. And then I lost my virginity to her. She was like 16. I was like 21. Yeah, she went to my high school actually. And
what do your your ex-girlfriends and everything think about you now? Oh, he was that weird guy in school.
I don't think
Now would you consider yourself a celebrity? Would you think that you're just somebody that a lot of people know? What is your perception of yourself?
I don't really put a label on it, but I do get recognized sometimes when I go, like you recognize your friend recognize me. Sometimes I go out and then people will ask me for pictures. So that kind of shit, like, would like used to like fuck me a little bit. It's like, what the fuck am I doing? I just like to upload videos and like express myself on the internet. And now like it's not just like people know me from the internet. It's like people like recognize me from the real world. So like, you're the guy, the BBC guy, or like, Frank, hey, what's up, Frank? Yeah, it's kind of funny. So like I wouldn't say I'm this or that, but my work has been seen by enough people that I have to, like, if I do stupid shit outside, if I do some illegal shit, I have to like watch my bag. What if someone recognizes me and stuff like that? So if I try to like hook up with another girl like at a club, is someone gonna recognize me because they don't have a girlfriend? Shit like that.
How do you think that in your videos, do you think that you're presenting a 100% genuine version of Frank, or is it a little bit of creative? Is it any of it a show, or is it completely just you're being 100% honest?
I think even when I'm making a character out of this meatsuit, I used to call Frank Yang. Even if I was consciously creating this character, that I wouldn't act this way in real life. It was still a genuine, 100% genuine expression of that. Yeah. So in a way, it's both. Neither. Yeah. Whatever I do, even if I'm just like acting a role, I'm doing minor games, I have to like act like all macho. But when I'm in that moment, it feels like that it really is me, even though I wouldn't do that like in my house. So
right. So I guess it's kind of an open-ended question, because it's like I guess technically people change every moment, from moment to moment, day to day.
Exactly.
So if how you feel on one day, you might be one way, and then the next.
I used to say that there is no like true self. There's no true face. Like, whatever, like people are like, oh, you're being fake. You're putting on a mask right now, right? But then I always thought that you really never had an original face. Like each mask, quote unquote mask you put on is a new mask. It's not like you're putting this layer on as a real person, as a genuine human being. And then you act this way in front of this person, and you put on this mask, and then that's fake. You put on 5 layers, that's even faker. I don't think of it like that. I think of it, every mask that you put on is the original face. And the more I dug into spirituality, the more I realized that there was never a mask to begin with. There was never a self. There's no question of, oh, you're not being a true self. You're not being an authentic self. There's no question of authenticity in my field of experience right now. It's just
this leads down to a question further down the list. Can you still be pissed off and angry and be wanting to kick somebody's ass while simultaneously being enlightened?
Of course, yeah. For me, being enlightened just means you're kind of like the weather. If you're like, does the weather allow the weather to rain tomorrow or have a storm. Of course, it's a part of the current of nature. But if you follow the current of nature, it doesn't feel like you're pissed off even when you're pissed off, because the anger doesn't feel like it's coming from inside. Because the anger doesn't feel like it's coming from the me too. Doesn't feel like it's generally from within. The emotion and the feeling of anger gets reduced down to about like 1 to 5%, even if I feel angry. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because that space is so big. Because like imagine if like I'm in Taiwan right now, okay, and if it started to rain, if you only identify with being a person who lives in Taiwan, you'd be like, holy shit, the rain is crazy, right? I'm getting wet. I fucking hate this weather. But if you like sort of expand your identification or your no identification to like let's just say the whole universe, if Taiwan rains, you don't feel much.
Yeah. I mean, I can remember I pretty much went everywhere on a motorcycle. Okay. And so I didn't have a rain jacket. And I was like, oh, it's a beautiful day today. I'm going to go on and bring a rain jacket. And it started raining. And I got so pissed. And by the time I finally
were you in Tennessee?
No, this is in Taiwan, you know. And so by the time I finally got to the school to go teach, I was soaking wet. My socks were wet. My pants were wet. I was drenched. And I was like, nope, I'm not going to be mad. It's just a little rain. But I had to spend the entire day soaking wet.
That's interesting, man. But again, I said, like with meditation, what you can do is you can unhook your awareness from inside your meatsuit. Actually, your awareness or consciousness or mind was never inside the meatsuit. We just imagine that to be the case due to conditioning. But with enough meditation, you learn to deprogram that, and you find yourself inside awareness. You find the whole world to be inside awareness. You find the me too, the body and the brain. So we're getting down to the meat of that question you asked in the beginning. So you find the whole world, even the universe, whatever is inside space and time is. So awareness or consciousness as a matter of a direct experience transcends space and time. So the meat suit, the world, the rain is inside, in a way, awareness. But then again, there's no inside and outside because that's still not a duality. But let's just, for lack of a better explanation, let's just say everything's inside awareness. And then if you get soaking wet, and if you can deprogram yourself to experience the world from the perspective of being, which is outside the body mind, when you get wet, you can still feel wet, right? But the sensation of feeling wet and the emotions, the response you have, the reaction you have to feeling wet will just be reduced down to this minute, tiny speck of sensations within this infinite field of being, or awareness or consciousness. Or.
But for me, it was more like a conflict of, opinions. It's like I had the opinion that I didn't like being wet and going to class. But then once you accept it, and it's just like, okay, I'm just going to be drenched wet all day. So not letting the anger, grow and manifest. But it's like, hey, it's raining today, so I'm wet. But then,
whatever it's aware of getting wet and whatever it's aware of anger is the same as that which is aware of dryness and that which is aware of happiness.
But also, the feelings of like anger and other strong emotions, we feel them to let your mind, let your body know that something is not right or something is wrong. So if you're in an area or situation and you just have a very, sixth sense that something's about to happen, the next thing you know, someone pulls a gun out in the store, so those senses also help you keep you safe. So in a situation like that, what would be the response? Fight or flight?
You respond
for you and your meat
would
suit.
Respond
for you and your meat suit. Would you fight or would you fly?
It depends on the situation. To be honest, though, ever since the awakening, which happened on May 25th, we can talk about that if you want. I haven't gotten mad. Like I've gotten mad, I think like once because all my equipments got fucked up and I broke my phone. And it wasn't really anger; it was just a little bit of frustration. But that was it. I think I haven't gotten mad.
Do you mean May 25th? Oh, so May 25th of just this past year.
This year, so it's been 4 months now, I think. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that was I call it my final awakening, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
But there's really never a final shift, but there is.
Yeah.
You know, on the axis of awakening, on the spiritual path, there is sort of like an end point. But then there's other axes like compassion and ethics.
Yeah. It's
you
like
know,
the
stuff of the
hierarchy
character.
of needs, you know. If you're still down here in the
Yeah,
bottom,
because you
just
could
trying
be
to
a
figure out how to survive. So if you're at the very bottom of the pyramid, it's difficult to go at the top for self-actualization. You're still trying to figure out how to, you know, feed yourself, you know, keep your rent.
But the thing is, like, what my point is, you could be at the bottom of the pyramid and still become enlightened, and then you have to do a lot of like quote unquote integration work. Even at the top, let's say I'm like a CEO, I'm like a really rich CEO, I'm Steve Jobs, and then all of a sudden I got enlightened, right? He's gonna have to deal with the real world shit as Steve Jobs, the character, because the rest of the world is still functioning, still treating like Steve Jobs. He still has responsibilities.
Yeah.
Right. So even if you're at the top of the pyramid, you get enlightened, it's almost the same as, you know, any other stage of getting enlightened. You still need to deal with the relative world, even though the relative and the absolute are one. But then at the level of the relative, you still need to deal with the relative as the relative, even though you're abiding in the absolute. That is also the relative.
So that kind of
You know what I'm saying?
brings me to one of my earlier questions I had. All I wrote down was enlightenment, fat, yes or no. So do you think that any meat suit, do you think any meat suit or any character, regardless of their physique, their body, you know, their financial or whatever, do you think that, you know, enlightenment can be, anybody can achieve that regardless of where they are in the world and where they are in their physical and everything? Like, could you have someone that's 600? Do you have someone that could be 600 pounds and be enlightened? Or do you think there's a certain amount of physical work that needs to be put into it too?
Everyone can get enlightened right now. It's your natural state. Everything that enlightenment has to offer is here right now through everybody, because everybody is made up of the stuff of enlightenment, because enlightenment is just, you're just abiding in the universe, you're abiding as the universe, right? So like every single particle within your bodysuit, every single experience that you've ever had is made up of the stuff of enlightenment. But not everybody realizes it.
Yeah.
So your question could be framed as, can everybody realize what they already are at the deepest level, their true nature?
Kind of like
everybody capable
remembering what they already know.
Yeah, remembering what they already are.
Okay.
Since day zero. Remembering the face that was already there, your face before your grandparents were even born, which you don't even have to remember because it's right here, right now.
How though does the, you know, the physical discipline tie in to? I don't have the words for it. How does that tie into enlightenment, I guess you would say, or even whether it's just your physical health and your well-being?
Let me start a new clip. That was really good. All right, 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right. So the physical, I mean, like if you sort of like bogged down by the meatsuit because of your physical health, you're gonna have more shit, like more stress in the mind. Your mind is not gonna be as clear to do the kind of self-inquiry and contemplation and meditation work that's gonna get you to realize your true nature. So you're gonna have probably more things to decondition, but it could still be done. The enlightenment is really transhuman. It really has, in a sense, it really has nothing to do with like the character's body mind. Okay. So you could be in the middle of something super distressful and then have a full enlightenment experience. The character's mind and body doesn't have to change at all to experience enlightenment. But for most people, they don't. So, you know, some people just get a glimpse of enlightenment out of nowhere, and a lot of times actually in a space where they're like super distressed, and that's what perpetuates them to have a glimpse. But for normal people under most conditions, I would say that if your physical form isn't sort of functioning ideally, you're gonna have more work cut out for you. You're gonna have to do more deconditioning and more digging
I
to get to the
wonder,
bottom of it.
like the kind of like the stereotypical idea and image of Buddha is, a fat man who is a fat enlightened being. Do you know anything about like the history of that character?
Oh, that Buddha. Actually, I don't. He's very popular. I see his statues everywhere in Taiwan.
Yeah.
But he's just one of the Buddhas. Like different Buddhas have different forms, and they're reincarnated through different forms, and different meatsuits, different minds. Even there's this Buddha in ancient Chinese mythology. He's a real person, actually. They call him Ji Gong. He's pretty famous too. Have you heard of him? Ji Gong.
No.
He's like an enlightened master, but he eats meat and he like drinks wine all day long, and he's famous for that. He's like one of those guys that he's like kind of like Diogenes, Diogenes from Greek, something like that.
He's like the
some wise guy.
Master. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like the drunken master.
Me.
So
like me.
Yeah. So you get enlightened people come in all shapes and forms. So the ideal like projection of like this perfect equanimous Buddha, like who never gets pissed off, who never have sex, who is like 100% compassionate. That's just one version of it.
Yeah. So what was it that's made you strive for the aesthetic?
For the aesthetics, at first when I started lifting weights, I strived for functions. I wanted to be fast. I wanted to jump high. I wanted to be explosive. I wanted to be strong, be powerful. Because as a kid, I really like animals. I like how animals are so athletic. To me, before athletic is the real aesthetic thing.
Yeah.
For me, function was formed before. Yeah. And then I just like cheetahs the best. Cheetah was my favorite animals. And I said, I wanted to be as fast as I can. I wanted to be a cheetah. So I started training for speed. And then after I started getting the training for speed, I was like, you can't just run sprints. In order to sprint fast, you have to have muscles. So you have to have muscles and strength to transfer that strength into power, and to transfer power into speed. It's all the same continuum. Strength is like the base, and then speed is like the top, power is like in the middle. And then I look at sprinters, like, holy shit, all the sprinters are fucking ripped. They're all like, aesthetic as fuck. So in order to run faster, I must lift weights. And I started lifting weights.
And then so it just kind of progressed from functionality to being more
to
refined.
Aesthetics.
Okay.
More form, man.
Yeah.
But nowadays I look at function and form to be the same thing. So it all worked out at the end. When you come to the realization of non-duality, everything just makes sense at the end. All the contradictions I used to have in the past, they just reconcile themselves into one thing or no thing, and that feels really good.
So what was it that you experienced on May 25th, though? Like, what was the actual experience?
The actual experience, it was just, the way I put it, the way I summarize it, is the universe eating itself through and through. Kind of like those, cosmic snake, those cosmic dragon that's eating its own tail.
Yeah, Ouroboros.
Pretty much that sums it up. To get to that point, it took me about 7 years of meditation, 5,000 to 7,000 hours of formal sitting, and maybe 2,000 more hours of just contemplation and reading.
Okay.
And it was just like hologram eating itself. It's like the way I experience the world right now is just this boundless hologram that's perceiving itself through just quote unquote God sense door. Like it doesn't feel like I'm looking out at you through my eyes, or like I'm hearing the sounds of your voice through my ears, because there's no hearer, there's no seer, there's no thinker, there's no doer. There's doing, there's the activities of doing, there's seeing, there's hearing, there's thinking, but it doesn't belong to a person, a subject inside, because there's no difference between the subject and the object. It's just things happening. So the way that I experienced the world right now, and the experience that I had on May 25th, the realization is still locked in right now. That's why I always say it's permanent. Another way I described it was hologram on hologram, infinity on infinity, emptiness on emptiness. But that emptiness is also full. So the whole field was perceived to be empty. And I said that the whole process, of the whole path of spirituality, and the whole process to awakening is to dissolve every single speck of solidity within your bodysuit, not just your bodysuit, not just your meat suit, your brain, your mind, your thoughts, and the world. So once you dissolve every single aspect of solidity, you're also at the same time dissolving separations, because separation only comes through different intensities of solidity. Let's say I'm more solid than you, I create a separation, right? So if I meet a girl, the girl is like so fucking hot, and I'm pussing it out, the girl is solidified, right? Because there's a part of me that wants to fuck her, and that part of me is solidified, making the other part of it less solidified, so there's an imbalance, there's separations. But once you dissolve everything in your field of experience, including your meatsuit, into empty space, into just vibrating empty space that has no form, you erase all separation. So there's absolutely no separation between the world and this meatsuit here. So again, going back to my analogy in the beginning, it feels like the whole universe is eating itself, because the whole world is just going through this meatsuit right now.
How do you think how do you think psychedelics has played into leading up to this experience?
Good question. When I smoked 5-MeO DMT about 2 years ago, I think 3 years ago now, I had a glimpse of this, but it was laced with like a lot of trippy visuals. Right now, there's no trippy visuals. Right now, when I see things, it's just like, it's now it's actually more trippy than trippy visuals, because it's completely clear. It's completely holographic. It's like 360 degrees and just there's no end to it, right? When I look at you, it feels like I'm looking at a hologram. Even though the visual is not like, it's not like morphing or anything, but the realization that it's all empty space changes your whole perceptual apparatus in a really drastic way, right? So when I smoked 5-MeO DMT 3 years ago, I had a glimpse of this absolute infinity, this emptiness thing.
Did you completely break through whenever you did?
Yes. Yep, I completely broke through. I smoked it twice. I smoked it the first time and I didn't break through. But then I was like, no, I just knew I had to smoke it again to break through. So I took another dose. Or I had to tell the shaman to give me another dose. I had a shaman. And then once I broke through, it was kind of like this, except that I had it. Okay, I'll ask you some questions later.
Okay. You can ask now if you want. I don't care. It's more of a conversation.
You say you work, right? Are you in quarantine, or you work online, or you?
No, man. I straight up, I'm working, man. Building houses.
Oh shit, we're building houses.
Yeah.
Oh wow, cool, interesting. Okay, let's get back to where we're.
All right. So the last thing that I remembered is you said you smoked some DMT, and you're seeing fractals upon fractals inside of holograms, and you were talking about that was like 3 years ago.
Yeah. And then I was talking about the enlightenment experience was almost exactly the same as that one. Yeah. And then what was it? I was saying I had a body. During the DMT trip, there was the hologram, which is eternal. It doesn't change at all. Like since May 25th, it hasn't changed at all. It's like kind of like the sky, okay? And the fractals and the trippy visuals is kind of like the clouds.
Just like
from that perspective. From that perspective.
Go ahead.
So from that perspective, the trippy visuals is the content within the context of the sky, or the context of that infinite space. From that perspective, the trippy visual isn't really that different from just me looking at you. So right now, when I'm perceiving the world, even though you look holographic, like my perceptual apparatus is completely changed. Like the whole thing is just empty, one empty space, right? I can still see everything. Like nothing is like morphing or like changing, but the context of it, let's just say the screen has been changed. It's almost like watching the same movie, like you're watching the movie of King Kong on a screen versus on a VR goggle versus experiencing in real life. Even though the movie is the same, the context is different.
So you keep mentioning the holographic. So are you talking about your perspective that you see, that you understand that it's mostly empty space at a subatomic level? Is that what you're meaning by that?
No, I'm talking about experientially. Like I'm experiencing the world as empty spaces. Even though in the beginning you have an intellectual understanding of it, you read physics or you read even like spirituality texts, you're like, oh, everything's empty space. But that becomes your reality. That's why I say there's 3 levels of understanding. There's intellectual understanding, intellectual level. And then the second level is an experience. You have an experience of it. Oh, you have an experience of empty space. You have an enlightenment experience. But that doesn't last. You have to lock it into a realization where it becomes your permanent reality. So right now, when I'm experiencing the world, when I just walking around doing day-to-day, everyday reality, I experience the world as a huge hologram, and all the forms, all the different things that are just vibrating out of that formlessness as form. That's why the Buddha says form is emptiness, and emptiness is form. So right now, you just empty space vibrating as itself. So is everything else. Yeah.
That's a interesting way of putting it.
Mm-hmm.
Did you read a lot about physics, or is this experience, as you say you're having, just something that you've came through direct experience and awareness?
It's both. I didn't really read a lot of physics per se, but I used to read a lot of science books, a lot of philosophy, a lot of psychology, stuff like that. And that sort of was preparing me for this journey, because from this journey on, it's all about direct experience. All the insights you have are direct experiential insights, not just like, oh, I understand it with the mind. It's actually a shift in consciousness.
Okay.
So the reading definitely helped.
One of the things I have written down here, it says, I just put a box around it because I just wanted to bring this up to see your interpretation of it. So it says psychics, gurus, and bullshitters.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to say that. I just wanted to say those three words to hear your input.
I think there are definitely psychics out there that are legit. There are bullshit psychics. There are gurus out there that are legit. They're bullshit gurus. The bullshitters that are legit bullshitters, and they're fake bullshitters.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I feel you. So what are some things that, are indicators if someone is, a bullshitter in general,
In general, that's a bit broad. It depends on the context and what bullshitting on.
In the context of being psychic or being a guru or being an enlightened master, what are some, for example, you posted saying that if someone cannot say 100% beyond a shadow of a doubt that they are enlightened, then they're not. So
that's why how I feel. That's how experientially that's how I feel, because before the May 25th, I was like, okay, I'm on the path to enlightenment, and I'm kind of enlightened. I'm kind of there.
Yeah.
But like I couldn't say for sure. If someone was to just straight up to my face and ask me, bro, you've been doing spirituality for 7 years, are you enlightened? I have to think about it. But right now, I just like, yeah, enlightenment is so obvious. It's right here, right now. And the thing about it is like most people they kind of like tiptoeing around the concept of enlightenment. They don't like talking about it.
Yeah.
And then admitting that you're enlightened, it's almost like admitting that you're gay. It's like almost like coming out the closet, because people are, for some reason, thinking of enlightenment really like push people's button. Because when you talk about enlightenment, I guess their constructs just start to, you're playing around with their matrix, their construct.
Yeah.
In a way, you're making a separation between the enlightened and non-enlightened. Even though from my perspective, everybody's enlightened. The way I look at the world, it's there's no self. There's not like I don't see you as a self. I see you as part of just unfoldment and everything. But from the relative level, from the people who hasn't reached this point yet, they're gonna be like, "Oh, enlightenment, is that even a real thing? Like, are you bullshitting? Like, so you're enlightened and I'm not? And like, there's gonna be there's gonna be a duality."
But it's kind of like if you say that you're enlightened, then it's almost like creating a challenge in the person that's hearing those words, because automatically they're gonna say, "Oh yeah, well you're not enlightened because of this, and this,"
Yeah.
Or
totally,
they might be like, well, if you're so enlightened, prove it, And so I guess that's why a lot of the people that are actually enlightened and they just don't ever admit to it, they never talk about it. Like, hey, just forget you. I'm just going to go on about my life, because it's not like something that you really want to put up on a, on display ad or whatever. Hey, I'm Mr. Enlightened sitting over here on my cushion,
Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with personality and characters. Like the way each character, each meatsuit respond to enlightenment is going to be a little different, even though the realization is going to be generally the same. There's this one realization, but the way your body might respond to it is going to be different. So the way I respond to it, like, is because like this is what I do. Like since like I was like 14, like I've been like filming myself doing this and that. I've been expressing myself. I've been kind of like showing off, So if I get enlightened, I'm gonna talk about it. I'm gonna express it, and I'm gonna be like, hey, look at my enlightenment cocks. When I say enlightenment cocks, I don't mean the cock. I mean like the Zen Buddhist. Zen, they have like this 10 bull, like the picture of like the 10 stages of enlightenment, where you kind of at first you see the chair of the bull. They call it the bull of enlightenment. At first you just see the footprints, right? And then you see the tail. Oh, you have a glimpse of enlightenment, just tiny glimpse. And then you grab the tail. When you have your first awakening, you grab it. And then you kind of train yourself to, to ride it, to tame it. And then you start to ride your enlightenment cocks. And you ride it, you ride it home. And then you let go of even the cocks. Okay, so, the bull. Yeah, anyway, so, so my personality, this character's personality is just kind of like, I want to show you what I find interesting. I want to show you what I find aesthetic. Whether that's physique, whether that's, creating jackass videos, or whether that's, creating like mindfuck artsy videos, or something that I read that's interesting, like a philosophical idea that I picked up. I'm going to want to share it,
Okay.
And then if I experience this thing, then this is the most mind-blowing thing I've ever experienced in my whole life. And of course I want to share it, right? But am I going to share it tomorrow? I don't know, but for right now, so far, I've been like keen to share it. And then most of the people's response has been like really positive. A lot of people are really inspired by it. And I just keep doing it. Yeah. Oh, I don't see you anymore.
Yeah, my camera just went out.
How did your camera go out, bro?
I think I just unplugged my webcam on accident. It's one thing after another for this, isn't it? Let's see. Well, look at my picture over there. Isn't that cool?
What are you pointing to?
A painting that I did. That's
nice.
like an abstract painting that.
Oh, nice. You do a lot of art, or?
Well, I mean, I do. I used to paint quite a bit. I had some art gallery and things like that. But well, it looks like my video is out, so I guess I will just put the video onto you then. It's time to look at Frank Young.
What happened to your webcam? Is out? What happened?
Well, I keep unplugging my webcam, but it keeps it never does turn on.
What?
Maybe I can plug into the back of the computer just a second. So in the meantime, while I'm trying to do this, I have some other topics written down. One of the topics, I just said ET for extraterrestrials. If you want to just go on about that, if you want to, well, I'll try to do this.
Okay, let me read you a post that I wrote about ET.
Okay.
That will answer all your questions about ET. Here's the post I wrote. Someone asked me, do you believe in extraterrestrials? And whether they exist or not, if they do, what would their implications? How would their presence affect modern-day Buddhas or Jesus or enlightened beings? My answer was, they would be made up of the same source as us. That's all I can say. If we come from the same source, quote unquote, then that's of us even knowing that they're there is made up of the same stuff as our bodies and minds and all the rest. And if there are enlightened beings in the alien civilization, and if enlightenment means abiding in your true nature or source, then they would be teaching the same stuff. Maybe they're just doing it completely differently. They have completely different methods and ways to go about it, since their body and minds can be separable and vibrating out of and made up of the same, just sensations, right? So if aliens were to land on Earth, I wouldn't be shocked at all, even if they're 1,000 or 10,000 times smarter. To me, intelligence means nothing more than a certain vibration of the same empty space. I'll be like, oh, cool, they can learn calculus in 1 minute. Yeah, that's just different content versus a dog's brain, your art, or this post, or fart, insert anything you like, or imagine, or can experience through the same context. That's what I have to say about extraterrestrials.
That sounds pretty good. So do you believe, though, that they are real? And do you think they have ever visited this planet instead of just hypothetical?
I don't really have any beliefs anymore. So I don't know. Like, I'm agnostic. Unless I see it, experience in real life, if I directly experience alien right now in front of me, and I'll say, yes, there's aliens. But if there's no aliens in front of me right now, then I'll say, I don't know. But I can honestly say that if, like I said in that post, I wouldn't be surprised at all if there are. And if there are, I wouldn't look at them that much different from humans. I might be scared of them if they try to like rape me in the ass. You know, I might be scared. I may scream.
Yeah.
But that would sort of be like me stepping on my own toes. That would be like because like you know what I mean. It's like they're just vibrating out of the same place as you and I. So if they attack me, definitely I'll be scared. I'll be hurt. I'll be like, no, don't fuck me in the ass. You know, I'm gonna have a reaction to it, right? But even if they try to hurt me, if they cut off my arms, even I'm still gonna be perceiving it as just the universe doing itself.
It's like, do you ever listen to the band Tool?
No.
Oh, well, they're like a really psychedelic, you know, heavy rock band, and one of their songs, the lyric is "Life feeds on life." And
life feeds on life. Yeah,
life feeds on life. I mean, it's such a common, you know, idea, like a simple concept, but it's like everything that's alive has to feed on something else, you know, that's alive in one way. And so that's what you're kind of going back to the Ouroboros of the circle of the dragon eating itself.
Yep, that's all there is.
I guess we're going to have to continue on without you being able to see the holographic meat suit of Alex Johnson. But the next topic that I have written down here, I just wrote down mystical shit.
Mystical shit.
Yeah. So have you had any really weird mystical experiences other than psychedelics? Like, have you ever, like, just as an example, if you're sitting there thinking of your best friend and all of a sudden your phone rings and there he or she is calling you, or you're like, man, I hope that truck doesn't wreck. Then all of a sudden the truck has a wreck. It's like a sixth sense or any other type of, you know, spooky shit that can't be explained in the normal sense.
Oh, definitely. What you experience, what you just describe, I call it synchronicity.
Okay.
Yeah, when you think of somebody that just calls you up, or just coincidences that are not coincidence. It just seems like it was like could have been meant to be. It was just kind of like things just aligning to itself, or like, you know, just the universe is talking to you, reality is sort of winking at you, and things are just unfolding perfectly in a sense when you have a synchronicity, right? Definitely, I have that a lot, and I'll say that I have that even more after I started the awakening and meditation journey. Other than that, you know, when you say mystical, I tend to think of it as just umbrella term for a lot of different things. The thing that I just described to you, the enlightenment experience, was mystical, right? And psychedelic trips are mystical, but I have to make a distinction between mystical experiences and realizations, or like enlightenment. Enlightenment and their mystical experiences are great tools to get you to realize enlightenment, but they're not in and of themselves the thing. And after enlightenment, the portal does open up to a whole new toolbox of mystical things, should I say. And another one of them is out-of-body experiences and seeing entities. I've seen some entities that try to, like, you know, suck my dick, midgets, and some entity that try to choke me. But they don't occur a lot. They usually like come to me in that space, sort of that space between like sleep and waking.
They say that the choking spirit is a common thing for people to have during sleep paralysis.
I had a sleep paralysis.
I think that's where the idea of Freddy Krueger came from the horror movie. And one of my friends, he says he has sleep paralysis ever so often. And he says that he described it to me as this entity that wears like a black hat or something. It's like a shadow man, and he wants to come up to him while he's asleep in his bed and choke him. And he says he always wakes up before he gets there. And I asked, I said, well, what do you think would happen if you didn't wake up and he actually got to you? He's like, I don't know what would happen. Huh. So do you think any of the entities, if they are real experiences, you know, if there actually are real entities and not just an hallucination, do you think that they can have any real effect in the physical?
Again, I don't really make a distinction between the physical and the spiritual or the psychological anymore. It's all one thing to me. So if it doesn't have an effect, let's say like during that experience, it was kind of like in between. It wasn't like in a dream, but it wasn't completely 100% waking reality either. So it was right here on this couch. And then I saw I was sleeping, and then I felt like someone was pressing down on me. I opened my eyes, and I saw like just almost exactly like the way your friend described it. And when I just like shook myself up to get to the 100% level of just waking reality, it was gone, right? But it was right here. You know what I mean? Like my consciousness was kind of like in between state, but I was in the room. I was here. So it was like in the same dimension as me almost. And does that have an effect on me? Well, it had an effect on me in the sense that we're talking about it right now, right? It has an effect on me in the sense that I would think twice about sleeping on this couch ever since then. That's an effect, right? Yeah, so it did have an effect. Even if it's...
So it scared you enough to where you're hesitant of falling asleep on that couch. Yeah. So that's a very real effect in reality.
Yeah, that's a very, very real effect. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not frightened by it, but like, I'd rather not experience it. But if it does come, I'll take it. I'll be like, that's just, that's like it's sort of like the alien thing. I realize that it's just more vibrations coming out of the same source, but that doesn't mean that my meatsuit is not going to have a reaction. I'd rather, you still have a preference, even though we recognize everything to be one and everything to be made up of the same quote unquote non-substance and everything's connected, you're still going to have a reaction, right? Your body's one, just for a normal normie, right? A normie would tell you that their body's one, their whole body's connected, but that doesn't mean that they're not gonna like hurt themselves. We do that all the time. We hurt ourselves all the time, right? We think thoughts are detrimental to our survival or to our well-being and to the well-being of others all the time, right? So sometimes some people like to like cut themselves, stuff like that, and we eat junk food. That's hurting our own body and having a reaction against our own body, even though we recognize, even though you're not quote unquote you're still a normie. You realize the body to be one coherent whole. You know what I mean?
But there's tons and tons of separation within the body. When whether it's your organs or even smaller down to your cells, or going down into like the chemistry of it, and then deeper into the the physics, and then whatever lies beyond that. So I view it from the negative infinity, the smallest of smallest, to the the astronomical. So there's not really any separation between, the couch that you're sitting on and what we are, except for what we draw from our mind and understanding.
Yeah, there is separation, but there isn't. The wholeness is what gives rise to the separation. The absolute is what gives rise to the relative. So the separation is part of the collective. Separation is part of the whole, right? The individual is part of the collective. They're one, and within that one, there are going to be fractals of it. So separation is inevitable. Because if you have one thing, it's inevitable that it's going to be, sort of diverted and fragmented into different parts. And that presupposes the wholeness as well. So it's like this paradox, this yin and duality that sort of feed on each other, gives rise to each other. And again, I have another thing to say about the mystical thing. I've been having a lot of out-of-body experiences too. Like I would be like, falling asleep, and then like I would go into this like tunnel and then past this membrane where I'll find myself in another dimension. And some of those dimensions are just completely alien. Like there'll be like midgets and like freaks and like entities in there. And then some of the dimensions feels extremely real. It feels like real. It feels like it's somewhere else in the world that's happening right now.
Can you consistently go back to these places though?
If I meditate before sleep, I can, but I can't like consciously do it as like that. Mm-hmm. But I'm getting to a point where I could kind of cultivate it, and I could kind of sense when it's coming, and I could kind of sense what kind of meditation I would be doing before that to kind of sort of induce it. But I can't just like go out of my body on command right now and just flow to like the States or something, right? But yeah, it's really weird. It's just like, but it makes sense if you think about it, because like if all minds are connected, right? Do you know like quantum entanglement, where one particle affects the particle on the other side of the universe?
Yeah.
You see, if that happens at the quantum level, of course it happens at the mental and the physical level, because again, everything is connected, right? So our minds are connected. Your mind is connected to my mind right now. That's why we're talking, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so that it makes sense that doing some kind of mystical or altered states of consciousness, and when you reach a certain level of consciousness, it's possible to have an out-of-body experiences where your mind or your consciousness finds itself in another location, because again, time and space are also constructs, right? Time and space are fake natties. Time and space are the constructs of the mind in the relative world. In the quantum world, there's no time and space. In the quote unquote mystical or the non-dual world, there's no time and space. So it makes sense that if you embody non-duality, it's easy to, not easy, but it's more likely that you're going to find yourself in the mind. Your consciousness is going to be housing the minds of other people from time to time. And you can experience.
And that would make sense as to why if you're thinking about your friend and then the phone ring and he's calling you, is because you were connected to that before he even had the thought to press the send button.
Exactly. That's part of it too. It's all part of it. Yeah.
Let me run this by you. So speaking on meditation, about 10 years ago, whenever I was in the military, I used to meditate a lot. I would go into very deep meditation. And so one time I decided just to go into a deep meditation and just see where it went. And I'm assuming I was slowed down to a theta wavelength. But in my visual field, all of a sudden I popped inside of a spaceship. And there was like 3 ETs, 3 gray aliens inside of a spaceship. And they just looked up at me and I was in their ship. And they communicated with me telepathically with like, who are you? And then next thing I know, I popped out of the meditation. And I've never had that experience since. It wasn't a scary thing or anything, but it's like, it's like, is that real? Is that a hallucination? Is that just a visual meditation? Or did I really go inside of an alien spaceship?
That's really interesting, man. It's like you actually, your eyes were closed, right?
Yeah, I was sitting, I think I was laying down, and I was laying down and I was doing the breathing and then just, allowing my, on the front of my forehead, just the visions to occur. But it was as real as, you and me talking to each other, like a deep, completely lucid and detailed.
I would say you're very gifted in meditation. Are you still doing it?
I mean, ever since some, things happened, I haven't been able to get to that deep of meditation since, really.
But have you been keeping up the practice though? Recently?
Not recently. I mean, I can still go in. Like I used to be able to like create entire, like different realities in my mind. The technique that I would use would be I would make a red laser light, and I would trace up as far as I could, and then I would trace out as far as I could, and I would expand my awareness perception 360 degrees to kind of build the playing field, so to say. And then from there, I would just, let the meditation take on its own thing.
Wow.
But it's been, several years since I've made a steady practice of it. Real life gets in the way, work, bills, living,
The technique that you described sounds like this technique that I haven't tried myself. It's called Fire Casino. One of my favorite teachers, his name is Daniel Ingram. He talks about it a lot. He said exactly like what you did, but they do it with candles. They look at a candle and then they get really concentrated on the candle, and then they keep going back to the candle, keep going back down until the candle start to morph and becomes this like thing you can morph, and with that you can morph into like a city or like a planet or anything you want, and then through that process, they're going to be like entities that are going to come into the realms and like going to be like aliens and stuff like that. So yeah, what you said makes sense. And if you could get that deep into meditation, bro, I think you're pretty gifted at this stuff. You should keep doing it. Yeah, that's amazing, bro.
I mean, there was one time in a deep meditation, I decided I wanted to fly from Tennessee to California, and I became an eagle, and I just flew all the way. I would go into deep meditation, like not just 5-6 minutes, but like really deep, like I don't know.
How long did you meditate for? Like how many years did you practice?
Well, I guess that was probably after just a year of practice and everything. But I picked it up really quickly. Pretty much just allowing my entire body to just go completely asleep and not move, and then just my consciousness stay awake without falling asleep. That's how I would describe it.
Wow, that's amazing, man. So did you use any formal techniques, or how long did you practice every day?
I read this book called The Gift, and I can't remember what the lady's name was, but she talked about some, techniques, and I started reading books on meditation, and the things that she did worked, and some things that other people I read worked, and, and also I was doing a lot of psychedelics at the time, a lot of ecstasy, mushrooms, whatever.
Dude, that sounds amazing, bro.
But yeah, not so much anymore, just because, the daily grind of life. And then whenever I do have time to have to myself. I'm doing other things.
Cool, man. What else?
Okay. Next, I have down here, what's beyond enlightenment?
Beyond enlightenment is you just go back to the dream and live a human life, but from the perspective of non-duality. Or you can do whatever you want afterwards, pretty much. There are other things that you can explore, but the way I experience enlightenment is sort of like an on and off switch that it's just there and it doesn't get more or less of it. But within this field, right? You can become a better person. You can, become a more compassionate person. You can express this, quote unquote truth to people who are also seeking. You can become a porn star. You can be a magician like you, or you can just go back to being a bodybuilder, take steroids. You can just do whatever. And then if you want to go deeper into the meditation path, into the awakening path, again, in my experience, I can say this for everybody. Once you're awake, the whole field is awake. It's almost like the sun, right? If the sun is there, it's there. It's not. It doesn't get brighter or dimmer. The sun is just there. There might going to be clouds that might cloud it. You might do things that are trying to look away from it, but the sun is going to be shining. It's going to be there no matter what you do. So the awakening axis is done for me, but the other axis is not completely done yet, like the ethical axis and the compassion axis. So if you want to keep meditating, that's still going to be within the content within the context of the sun that's everlastingly bright.
What do you think about the current state of the world right now with Elon Musk being able to have SpaceX, and they're talking about sending people to Mars here in the next 4 years or whatever? It's very exciting times. What do you think about it?
I do think it's a really bizarre and exciting time right now with the whole virus thing and the just technology in general. When you talk about Elon Musk, I was thinking about Neuralink. What would that do to humanity and stuff like that? But I just look at it as a really fun dream to witness. The state of the world doesn't really mindfuck me anymore. It's still interesting. But do I have any opinions on what's going on in the world right now? I think people can be more kind, and people can practice compassion more, and people can people, if they want to wake up, they can do it. I mean, the internet has all the resources you need to
what do you think is the biggest thing that's holding most people back from achieving enlightenment, or even just from waking up, so to say?
I think the biggest thing is that they just don't want it. Yeah, because let me give you an analogy. If you're sleeping, dreaming, sleeping, just normal nighttime sleep, somebody wakes you up, you're gonna be pissed, right? Yeah. Your body's gonna have a reaction. You want to go back to sleep.
That's the analogy of the Matrix movies.
Yeah, exactly. So
I want to get back to sleep.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is biology. We still have a biological organism, no matter how enlightened you are, right? We still get hungry. You can still have sex and feel good. So I think just our biological programming tend to incline us to be in the state of survival, and the state of survival is the state of asleepness, or consciousness from this perspective. And I think if you really want to transcend it, you can. But most people just rather live inside the dream, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, even after you get enlightened, the dream world is still very interesting and aesthetic. I'm still enjoying the dream world. I'm still enjoying going out and having fun, and making videos and playing the violin, and going on dates. All that is still stuff in the dream. And even though you're out of the dream, you still the way it's like you're lucid dreaming, right? And that makes the dream even more fun. And back to your question, I think the number one reason is that people just don't want to wake up, and another reason is karma, man, conditionings. Yeah. Some people just don't have the right conditions. It just doesn't resonate with them. You can tell somebody all about awakening enlightenment, and they just won't care, right? Even though I keep saying it's your true nature, bro. Don't you want your consciousness to return to its source? That's all you have. It's your direct consciousness. Your whole life is just consciousness. Don't you want this consciousness to return to its source, so you can become infinite, become what you really are? And even if I say that, don't you want to find happiness at the deepest level? They just don't care. They just don't care.
But I mean, what if they
resonate.
don't? What if they don't have any of the earlier experiences to even relate to have that conversation? You know, so
You mean like early experiences, like maybe they didn't take psychedelics when they're like a teenager and things like that. They never had.
No, I mean, maybe they're just on a whole entirely other evolutionary path, and that was one of the main things that I was wanting to get out in this podcast and speaking with you. You know, like I know that everybody isn't made equally physically. Like for example, you know, someone might be born without any legs, or somebody might be born with a mental handicap. That doesn't necessarily affect their happiness, or it doesn't affect really the quality of their life, other than what certain things they can do and can't do on their own. But do you think that everybody has equal potential of achieving enlightenment, or is there something more to it to where they're not meant to achieve it in this lifetime if you believe in reincarnation?
I think it's I think it's a little bit both. I mean, even though I say enlightenment is an on and off switch, there are levels of awakening that you can attain. So I would say like the initial stages of enlightenment, in Buddhist they call it stream entry, which is like the first level of awakening. If you can get there, you'll be like 95% happier than you, at least from my own personal experience and from reports I've heard about other seekers. If you can just hit the initial stages of enlightenment, the first level of enlightenment, you'll be better off. Like generally, you'll be better off, and you'll have way more wisdom and knowledge and even compassion than previously. I think everybody can get there, like the initial stages, like the first level at least. Once you're there, you're awakened. But from there to like the full thing, there's still some distance to go. But yeah, everybody can wake up. Everybody can attain the initial stages of enlightenment, and just even if they decide to stop the path after that and just go back to doing whatever they're doing, they're going to be better at doing whatever they're doing. So I think even a mental retard, I was reading this book, and then the author is like a really famous meditation teacher, and he said that he taught a retard to be enlightened, IQ of like 75. Because this stuff is like, again, it's beyond the intellect. Like you don't have to be that smart. Like I think if you're too smart, you could get in the way because you're going to be too attached to your brain and intellect. You'll be thinking too much, because this is not a matter of thinking. This stuff is beyond the mind and the body. So the limitation of the body and the mind isn't really that big of a factor. But there are some factors in there. There's some like genetic wirings that might make you a better meditator. That might make you more curious to like truth, and make you more you're more wired to experience the outer states of consciousness. Like you. Like if you can experience that kind of states during meditation, just by meditating for a year, I would say you're wired for this stuff if you want to be. Yeah. So I mean, there are going to be alterations, and you know, there are going to be differences between individuals for sure. But I would say like almost everybody can attain the initial stages of enlightenment. But to get to like the full thing, maybe not everybody. Maybe not everybody in this lifetime, even though it is your true nature. I don't think everybody can realize it. It's kind of like bodybuilding. Okay, I think everybody who works hard and believe in themselves can have the Brad Pitt physique from Fight Club, right? Would you say like almost everybody, right?
Yeah, I mean, if they can beat that discipline, you know, what was he like?
Yeah, exactly.
Body fat.
If they have discipline, I think every male on the planet can attain the Brad Pitt physique. But can everybody on the planet attain like a Ronnie Coleman physique? Maybe not, right?
I don't know. I'm not a bodybuilder.
So that's my analogy. It's like even though we all made up the same stuff, how those stuff reconfigure themselves to give rise to build the blueprint of this mind-body organism. There's still going to be some alterations and some distinctions, even though at the core, the bottom of it, the base is the same. And just by having the same base, you can attain certain levels of awakening already.
What do you think about like the ascended masters and the idea of, I don't know if guru is the right word, but the masters that have achieved such a level of enlightenment to where they can, you know, live forever, or they can actually, you know, float and levitate and actually perform real acts of magic, you know, make items teleport, for example. Do you believe that it is possible for a human to achieve some of the more mystical things?
Yes, I think so. Again, I have to emphasize that the two are in a way, if you get enlightened, those things become easier for you. But it's not a given.
Yeah.
It's almost like if you build like a really strong physique, are you going to be a better sprinter, a better gymnast with those physique, with the newfound strength? Most likely, but not necessarily, right? So enlightenment is almost like building the perfect consciousness or the perfect physique. And what you do with that physique, it's different for everybody. But you're more likely, once you build like a perfect Brad Pitt or like whatever, Ronnie Coleman physique, Ronnie Coleman is going too far, but once you build a pretty ideal physique, you make your body stronger, you're going to be better at other sport. And to me, levitation or like psychic abilities, whether believe them or not, or even out-of-body experiences or astral projection abilities, or even, telepathy. I believe those things are possible, because if everything is consciousness, everything within consciousness can be, rearranged. Even at the physical level, because physicality is just the solidified version of the formlessness of consciousness, right? So I do believe that those phenomena are possible, and while at the same time, it's not a given. It's not like you reach a certain level of enlightenment, you can levitate. And I always said that levitation takes stuff like levitation, or like, how do you say that? Like telekinesis.
Yeah.
That stuff takes hugely concentrated skills, right?
See,
because like,
the reason that I bring this up is because, first off, I have directly experienced one of the psychic things for myself, that I did it, and then another thing that I actually witnessed it with my own eyes. And
tell me about it. Tell me about it.
Man, like I wrote about it in my book, The Book of Magic. That's one of the key things I wrote about that.
Well, let me read you. It says, did you send me a book?
No, but I have several copies. I can send you one if you want.
You should send me your book, bro.
All right.
I didn't know your book. That's amazing.
So the first thing about the psychic experience, one time in deep meditation, this is whenever I was in the military, so we had a lot of time to just sit around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I was laying down and I was in the floor and I was meditating. And keep this in mind, in the Marine Corps, almost everybody smokes cigarettes or does tobacco. Okay. And so I was laying there and I was deep meditation, and I was trying to visualize how many people were outside at the smoking area.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody would go out to smoke. So knowing who was where and when at what time was impossible. And so I was like, okay, how many people are there? And I saw 4 people standing there. And then after that, I kept trying to look at the images of who it was. And one of them was a certain person. I'm not going to say their name. And I said, okay, so there's 4 people there, and one of them is such and such person. And I said, I got to test this. I got to go see if this is true. And so I would wake up from meditation, run outside, and sure enough, there's 4 people standing there smoking, and one of them was the exact person that I said that it was. And there were like 80 people living right there in the immediate area. So the odds of that,
Wow,
impossible odds. So that was my psychic experience. But the other part about telepathy was, this was in Louisville, Kentucky. And so I was going out to perform magic. This is back in 2016. And I went up to a table of people. It was at a bar, and everybody was drinking. And I wanted to show a magic trick. And I was too drunk, and I completely goofed up, made an idiot out of myself, And everybody at the table started laughing, and I was laughing at myself too. And then this little old man come out from the corner and says, do you all want to see a real magic trick? And everybody's like, yeah, sure. And so he says, I need to borrow your cigarettes. So he borrowed my cigarettes, and he put it on top of a beer, like a beer glass on a different table, took a napkin off the table, covered up my cigarettes, lifted it up, cigarettes were there, covered up the cigarettes, lifted up the napkin, the cigarettes were gone. And everybody freaked out laughing. And then he pointed at the table, and they teleported on top of another beer glass.
wow, that's amazing.
And he said making them go back is the most difficult part. So he did the same thing, covering up the cigarettes with the napkin from the table, uncovered it, covered up, and pow, the cigarettes teleported back to first class. And I mean, I lost my shit, dude. Like, everybody was like, oh, cool, that's a nice magic trick. But no, that affected me for life. That affected me to the core, because it's like, that shit was real. Like, that was real. Like, and then I tried talking to the man, and he wouldn't speak to me. And then he disappeared, and that's it. Never talked to him again. Yeah.
Wow, that's cool, man. When you do your magic stuff, like I bet like the reason why you're so good at magic is because you have some powers.
I mean, I think that I do, but I mean, I'm not going to come out and say like I'm the world's greatest magician or anything. Like sometimes, sometimes magic happens in my hands and it's completely a miracle. Like I can't even explain. Like
So I think your magic talent ties in with your like meditation and your with that experience you had, that psychic experience you had. Like it's all just it's all coming from the same kind of talent pool, I guess. It's kind of like being good at music and then you're good at the piano and then you find yourself to have perfect pitch. You have perfect pitch. And then you're, oh, I'm pretty good at piano. And no, I'm pretty good at singing. I'm pretty good at writing songs and pretty good at doing that. And pretty good at painting too. It's all the same thing, I think.
But then it's like if that old man that made the cigarettes teleport my cigarettes with the napkin off the table. I mean, I just don't see how there could have been a gimmick or any way that could have been, fake. But if you do have a power like that, you can't go around showing it off to everybody, So it's like true and real power has to be kept hidden for the most part. And so, there could be people that have been alive for 1,000 years and we would never really know it because they wouldn't be out then like, hey, look at me, I'm 10,000 years old, or, And sometimes I wonder about, because like I've had so many mystical experiences meeting magicians. Like almost everywhere I go, I meet a magician. Just for an example, I was playing poker last weekend and there was a guy there and I did a magic trick to this guy at the card table, like a mentalism thing, like reading his mind. And I thought that I was going to blow him away. So yeah, this is going to really blow him away. Then after we were done playing poker, I asked him if he wanted to see a card trick. And he said, sure. And then he took my cards and he performed a trick on me that was like amazing. And so come to find out, he was a magician the entire time. And it's like everywhere I go, I end up meeting magicians. And it's like, what are the chances of meeting a magician? It's like, there's only probably 100,000 magicians in the entire world,
That's kind of like the synchronicity thing we talk about, the quantum entanglement. Yeah. Everything we're talking about is like kind of connecting the dots that are related.
Yeah, I'm like a magician magnet, my brother said.
That's interesting, man.
But I guess
because I think all that stuff is definitely possible because because if we were inside like a dream or a matrix, whatever rule that's governing this matrix or this dream is the rule you set, that the matrix sets for itself through its own mind, right? So if you can sort of break down that rule, which doesn't really exist, then the potentiality and the possibilities could be endless. Because like there's like if mind and reality are one thing, dream and reality are one thing, then there's no limit to what the form of this reality can take, right? So if your mind can dream up this kind of stuff, then by definition, reality can generate that. Just different degrees of intensity. Let's say if you create a movie, Peter Pan can fly like, Superman can fly at like 1,000 miles an hour, and that's in the movie. But there's different degrees of intensity of that in real life. Let's say like a master could levitate, like maybe just 5 inches off the ground would be like, holy shit, is that real? That's crazy, right? But it's the same kind of logic in a sense, right?
Are you familiar with David Blaine?
Yeah, I know who he is, but I've seen a few of his like videos and stuff like that, but I'm not too familiar with his work. Why?
So he's a world-renowned magician. Okay.
Yeah. Is he good?
Oh, I would say that he's one of the best in the world.
But he's not a bullshitter.
But he's not a bullshitter, and that's what I'm getting at with this. Is he actually broke the Guinness World Record at one point for being able to hold his breath underwater, and he held his breath for like 17 minutes without breathing. And just recently, he flew up almost into space holding balloons. Like, I think he flew up 25,000 feet without a breathing apparatus, and like negative 40-degree temperature.
That's crazy.
So he's accomplishing amazing feats. He did have an oxygen tank up there at the very top just in case he was to pass out, but for the most part, he didn't use it. But so it's like there's so much more to everything than what we believe is possible,
Exactly.
So it's like, who knows what really is real and what really isn't real, but I guess it begins with belief, because what you believe, after, sets kind of the standard.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I think what you're getting is to like break down that duality between what's real and what's not real, because like the limitation is set upon the line that's drawn between the real and the not real, right? Dream and reality, and like in the beginning of what we talked about, between like mind, body, and soul, whatever. That line, that separation, is what you create for yourself with your own mind, right? So once that line is dissolved, the possibilities is endless. But you know what the most crazy magic is? The most mind-fucking magic?
What's that?
The fact that we're conscious right now. The fact that there's consciousness. I think the fact that awareness is aware of itself. The universe is aware of itself. That's the magic trick of all magic tricks. That no one can explain that.
That's one of the things that I say. Like, if people are like, "Do you believe in God?" or they say, "Do you believe in life after death?" or whatever. And kind of the way that I follow up with that is I'll ask a series of different questions. I'll say, "Where did you come from?" And I say, "Well, I came from such and such town." I'm like, no, where did you come from? Yeah. Like, "Oh, my mom." I'm like, "Well, where did she come from?" And then the question goes on and on and on. And then I kind of follow it up with saying, the very fact that I'm alive and conscious is a miracle. And that's amazing in itself. And the fact that I'm conscious and I'm alive, then there has to be something greater and more than I am. And that's kind of my perspective of God, or whatever you would call it, is just the collective consciousness of everything, being a small, tiny part of the universe, being aware of itself. So therefore, the universe is conscious of itself. Therefore, the universe is alive.
Exactly. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I would say that the consciousness awareness, honestly, I like, back to the alien thing. No matter how smart they are, I'm gonna venture to say that consciousness, if they're conscious, and of course they are, because consciousness is always conscious of itself, is the same everywhere. So like, you are God experiencing itself right now, and that this is it. Yeah. And then the difference again is content and the degrees of intensity. But the consciousness, like I said before, it's like the sun. The sun is just what it is. The sun has no degrees, right? So to me, it's not that so much the sense that there's something greater than myself, or it's more like it's already here. Where whatever is greater than yourself, it's already here as itself. You know what I mean?
I got lost in thought there for a second, just kind of reflecting back at what are the odds of meeting you on the streets of Taipei that one night. And then, 5 years later, here we are talking to each other on the podcast. It's like connecting the dots. It's like, do you believe in destiny? Do you believe in a self-fulfilling prophecy? Do you believe, or do you just choose not to put a label on it?
I choose not to put a label on it, but everything that you're saying, is sort of applies. It falls under the same logic as everything else we've been talking about, like the synchronicity thing, and like the psychic experience you had, and even magic, and even just consciousness itself being aware of itself.
So usually on the podcast, I always ask my guests, do you believe in magic? And I guess you've already kind of answered that in a roundabout way.
Yeah, of course I do. Yeah, magic. Of course, it's magic. Yeah. Consciousness is magic.
Yeah.
Everything that occurs within it, it's not as magical as itself.
Yeah.
So everything is the most mind-fucking thing there ever is, because everything is the manifestation of it directly. Yeah. So even just me doing this, that to me is like mind-fucking magic already. Yeah.
Just the fact that you can wake up every day, that's a miracle.
That's a miracle. Yeah, just the fact that I can even go to sleep, or the fact that it's true. It is miracles everywhere.
Well, I mean, it's been amazing having you on the show and talking with you, even though we've had so many technical difficulties and challenge, scheduling this.
Yeah, we got it done though. I think it was great. I think it was fucking good.
It was really damn good, man.
I think it was good, man. I loved it. I love talking to you. I love to hear about. I would love to hear more about your experiences and stories and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've had so many, that I've written a book about it. But I will. I will whenever this is over with. Yeah, I'm going to the post office. I have like 4 books to send out this weekend. So
Okay.
you can shoot me your information and I'll mail it to you.
Sure,
Awesome.
man. I'm excited, man. After we read the book, we can do another podcast so we can talk about
Okay.
like more like your experiences.
Hey, man, that works with me. But yeah, do you have any final closing questions or anything for me?
Nope.
All right, brother.
Where are you gonna put this?
Oh, yeah. So the podcast is called Conversation with the Conjuror. It goes on YouTube. I'm going to edit it together. So just to let you know, I have 2 other episodes before you, and I've been trying to edit them, but I've had some technical difficulties. So I will get yours edited as soon as I could. So,
Oh, no rush, man. Do whatever you want with it.
yeah, I'm going to get it edited and put it on the YouTube channel. But
Cool.
I mean, it would be super awesome if you could, give us a shout out.
Yeah. Well,
After you check this thing out. And
usually when I do podcasts, I would edit my own version too, but then I'll share your version as well. Yeah.
okay.
Usually after you edit your version, I'll share it, and then when I have my version, I will put the link in the description of your version because my version is usually gonna be shorter because I like to put visuals in it. So I'll put your full version on my video too. But before that, after you're done, I'll share it just directly.
All right, sweet. I mean, that sounds awesome. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to putting the raw footage together, like you just said, and then giving you the link after I have it edited, which is basically what I do anyway.
Yeah, give me the link.
All right, brother. Sweet.
All right, brother. See ya, man. I'm eating some lunch. It was a good time, man.
Good time, man. Talk to you later.
All right, see ya.
All right, bye.